Hi everyone and welcome to another Heroes of the Grid Ranger video. As mentioned in the last Trini coverage, today I'm going to be covering Zack Taylor, the Mighty Morphin Black Ranger. The first Mighty Morphin Black Ranger, I should say. His combat deck consists of 3 1-shield cards, 4 2-shield cards, 3 3-shield cards. Moving on to his character ability, Zack has the Hip Hop Keto, his signature fighting style. Its ability is once per battle, after you defeat an enemy card with an attack, you may deal 1 damage to another enemy card adjacent to your target. This plays into Zack's primary ability. His first function, or his role, is that he deals a lot of splash damage. Basically, he deals a lot of damage to cards that are adjacent to the target of an attack. His second unique thing about Zack is that he has a couple of cards that put cards into his discard pile and play off of that. He doesn't actually regain the cards, but depending on how many are in his discard pile, he can send them to his discard pile to power up another card. And you'll kind of see that. It's kind of a lesser strategy, but I mean, I say lesser. I'm not saying it's a bad strategy. I'm just saying it's not a lot of his cards do that. He has a couple that play really well off of each other. But like I said, his primary function, I guess you could say, is to deal splash damage. And he's very good at doing that, make no mistake. Set up Keto, I mean, you can only use it once per battle, but it has to be Zack too. Zack has to defeat a target with an attack, and then he can deal 1 damage to an adjacent card. So it is limited, but he can take enemies out fairly well, and you'll see that as he's definitely one of the stronger attackers, I'd say, of the original team, and you'll see as we go through. But first, I'm going to cover the one card that's kind of an outlier, Smooth Moves. It's a 0-cost reaction card that has 2 shields for defense. Its ability is play this card when any ranger suffers damage to reduce that damage by 2 and gain 1 energy. On its own, if any ranger had this card, it'd be great. So this is just a good card. Reduce any damage by 2 and then gain 1 energy. Now, the reason I say it's kind of an outlier is because it doesn't really fit with his splash damage and it doesn't deal with his discard pile. But then when I kind of thought about it just right now, it does kind of work with his discard ability, because if you don't want to have too many cards in your discard pile, you could reduce the damage you're taking yourself by 2, so that way you can maybe keep a card in your deck. Let's say you use Billy's Triceratops to put a couple of cards back on top of your deck, and you're taking damage. You can say, hey, I'll take this one because I know I'll send this card to the discard pile, and so I can keep it at this number, and such and such. It might sound a little complicated, but I mean, this game is very much, you do really have to think through your strategies if you want to win. If you want to win consistently. If you want to shoot from the hip, hey, go ahead. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, it's always fun to try to do a cool strategy that most likely won't pay off completely, but hey, when it does work, it's like the greatest feeling ever. But yeah, you really do want to be strategic in this game for the best chance of winning. So you have to kind of think about all these little different strategies, how interactions work. And this card, the more I think about it, actually does play into Zack's strategy a little more so than I thought. Anyway, moving on, we have his Sweeping Strike, a 1-cost, 2-dice attack, 3 shield for defense. Its ability is deal 1 damage to an enemy card adjacent to the target. This card, regardless of whether you defeat it, you deal an automatic 1 damage to an enemy card next to the target. So if, let's say you're attacking a card with the guard keyword, you can deal some additional damage to a card right next to it without having to worry about it being protected, because it's ability damage, it's not attack damage per se. Even though it's coming from an attack card, it's not attack damage because you're not choosing a target, it's just automatically doing it to an adjacent card. Now, you could also combine this with the Hip Hop Keto. So if you do, let's say you take out, let's say a foot soldier like Zack's doing in the picture of himself with this card, you deal 1 damage to another foot soldier next to it, and then and since you took out the initial foot soldier with the attack, Zack's Hip Hop Keto can activate. You can deal 1 more damage to the adjacent card. So you could potentially take out 2 targets at once. Or you could split the difference and deal 1 damage to 2 separate targets. Like I said, yeah, it's just a good way to get some splash damage. Again, this is really good against that Eye Guy card. I keep bringing it up, but that's such an annoying card to come across. Any little chip damage, splash damage you can do to it is fantastic to get rid of it as soon as possible. Let's say using that Eye Guy card is next to another guard card so they can't protect each other. Use Sweeping Strike on that card to deal 1 damage, and deal 1 damage to the Eye Guy card. And if you took out that other target that wasn't being protected, you can use Hip Hop Keto to deal another damage, so now you only have 1 left on that Eye Guy card to worry about. Alright, so next we have Mammoth Slam. A 0-cost, 2-dice attack, 2 shields for defense. Its ability is if there are 4 or more cards in your discard pile, add 1 die to this attack. This is the card that the amount of damage you can do is more so dependent on how many cards you have in your discard pile. So theoretically, that extra die could amount to nothing if you roll a blank on it, or it could roll a critical hit and deal additional 2 damage to what you were doing in the first place, or just deal 1. It could be enough to take out a foot soldier or an enemy card, and from there you can use the Hip Hop Keto, if you haven't already, to deal an additional splash damage to an adjacent target. Since dependent on the number of cards in your discard pile, it works really well with the next card, which is going to be Reckless Blow, which is a 1-cost, 2 dice attack card, has 1 shield for defense. Its ability is, before rolling, you may discard the top card of your deck to add 2 dice to this attack. This is a great card. Let's say you only have 2 cards in your discard pile, and you decide to play Reckless Blow for an energy. You can discard the top card of your deck. You don't have to. It says you may. So you have 3 cards in your discard pile. Add 2 dice to this attack. So for 1 energy, you're getting a 4 dice attack, which is stronger than normal. I mean, you have to pay the top card of your deck, but it's still good. Deal some extra damage. And then on your next turn, since you had 3 cards after playing Reckless Blow, now Reckless Blow goes to the discard pile. And now you have 4 cards in your discard pile, so now you can play Mammoth Slam for a 3 dice 0-cost attack. You deal some potentially great damage there. A lot of possibilities with Reckless Blow. And like I said, you don't have to. It could just be a regular 2 dice, 1 energy. Or even if you don't have Mammoth Slam, you just want to roll 4 dice. It's a really powerful attack. Next, we'll move on to Blade Blaster, which again is exactly the same as it has been for Billy and Trini. This attack deals an X-cost, special attack, 1 shield. This attack deals an amount of damage equal to the amount of energy spent to play this card. You may divide this damage among any number of targets. So this is actually kind of, sort of, can work with Zack's splash damage ability, because you can spread the damage from Blade Blaster around, but you just can't choose a card that's being guarded by another enemy card. That's what kind of makes it different from splash damage, is that you can't choose a protected card. But again, it's still a good card. Depending on how much energy you want to play, you can do some chip damage, or just take out a couple small goons that just need the last little bit of damage. Next is Zack's power weapon, the Power Axe. Now, I still say the Power Axe is one of the best power weapons in the game. It's a 3-cost, 3 dice attack, and has 3 shields for defense. Now, its ability is, after rolling, choose 2 dice from this attack and deal that much damage to each enemy card adjacent to the target. So let's say you roll 5 damage. One of the dice is a 1 hit, the other 2 dice are critical hits, so they deal 2 damage each. In addition to dealing that 5 damage to the target, you choose 2 of the dice that you rolled, in which case you're going to choose the 2 dice that had the critical hits, and you deal that much damage to each enemy card adjacent to the target. So now you're dealing 4 damage to every adjacent enemy card. It doesn't say you take away the dice, so like I said, you deal that initial 5 damage to the enemy target. Let's say it's a guard card. Let's say you don't take out the enemy with the guard keyword. You're still dealing 4 additional damage to potentially 3 other targets that are adjacent to it, and you're most likely taking out a foot soldier, because very few, unless they're elites, have more than 4 health. You could even take out some enemy cards, because some enemy cards only have 4 health. Like I said, it's a very powerful card. I still say it's one of the best cards in the game. That's why I say Zack's a really good damage dealer too. Next, I'm going to move on to his Zord cards. Again, Zack only technically piloted 2 Zords in the series, but since he's Mighty Morphin Black, he has access to 2 other Zords. The first Zord he has access to is the Mastodon. Its ability is exhaust this card to immediately remove 1 foot soldier figure from any location and place it on the experience track. I say Zack's Zord 2 is still one of the best in the game, and the reason is because you don't have to use Mastodon's ability during a battle. You can use it at any point during the game. So before you start moving your Rangers around to decide where they want to deploy themselves, you can use Mastodon to, let's say if there's only 1 enemy in a location at the start of the game, you just remove it so you don't have to worry about going to that location at all, and you can focus your team somewhere else. Or if you did a battle, there's only 1 enemy left in the location, let's say because you either couldn't take it out or because it wasn't one of the 4 enemy figures that was fighting in that location, you can use the Mastodon, remove it, get it to your experience tracker, and unpanic the location if it was panicked. It's just a very versatile card. And I love that it goes onto the experience track too. Now, I must say that if you do use it in battle, you still remove the enemy figure and it goes on the experience track, no problem. However, the enemy card that's associated with that figure is not defeated. That enemy card will still resolve, so you'll still have to defeat it if you don't want its ability to resolve when its turn comes around. And unfortunately, you don't get to get rid of another enemy figure for it, because that card is associated with 1 enemy figure, so you can't use it to get rid of 2 figures. Next is the Lion Thunder Zord, the Zord that he piloted in the 2nd season. And the only real connection I can make between a Mastodon and a Thunder Zord and a Lion is, aside from the fact that they're both mammals, is that the Lion has a big mane and Mastodon was really hairy. So, but yeah, they really lucked out that the Lion Thunder Zord had a lot of black on it too. So, in addition to the green. Anyway, the Lion Thunder Zord's ability is exhaust this card during any Ranger turn in battle. defeat one foot soldier card instead of playing a card. Now, a lot of people might look at this and say, this is a weaker version of the Mastodon. And to a degree, yes, it is. Because you can only use it during battle. You have to use up one of your Ranger turns, basically, to do it. Instead of playing a card, you'll defeat one foot soldier. But the one advantage it does have over the Mastodon is that, let's say you still have to fight some foot soldiers. Depending on what card you draw, it could have a very annoying effect. Those foot soldiers could be guarding somebody. They could have an ability that maybe is draining your energy or something like that. The Lion Thunder Zord, you automatically defeat a foot soldier. It still goes to the experience tracker because you defeated it. The enemy card is flipped over. It's defeated. So that ability is no longer in effect. So if you want to get rid of a foot soldier that's guarding an enemy card, you can do that right away. You can get rid of a passive ability card that's would be super annoying to deal with. So it does have its advantages over the Mastodon. This is a Zord you want to use if you want to get rid of a specific card, not necessarily just worry about the figure on it. So that's where the Lion Thunder Zord shines. I still prefer the Mastodon overall, but the Lion Thunder Zord, after I looked at it and thought about it, I said, yeah, that's actually it's a very more strategic type card to use. The third Zord that Zack can pilot is the Black Frog Ninja Zord. Again, Adam was the ranger that famously piloted the Frog Ninja Zord, but again, since Zack has the Mighty Morphin Black designation, he can pilot it as well in this game. Now, its ability is exhaust this card after any ranger resolves an attack. That ranger may immediately perform an additional attack with 2 dice. It's basically just a second attack a ranger can perform with 2 dice. It's not necessarily Zack specific, but you can actually use it pretty well with his ability. Use Zack's Sweeping Strike to attack a foot soldier that's guarding an enemy card. Automatically, the Sweeping Strike does 1 damage to the enemy card that you really want to be targeting. And if you take out the foot soldier with Sweeping Strike, you can activate Zack's Hip Hop Keto to deal an additional 1 damage to that enemy card. And since you defeated the foot soldier that's guarding the enemy card, you can now choose it as an attack target. So, with the Black Frog Ninja Zord, you can exhaust it. Zack can perform another attack with 2 dice automatically to target the original enemy card he wanted to be fighting this whole time and potentially take it out. You can use that scenario with just about anybody, but since Zack does this chip damage or sweeping damage, he has a better chance of taking it out. Finally, the last Zord that Zack can pilot is the Black Shogun Zord. Exhaust this card when any ranger plays an attack card with an energy cost of 1 or 0. Choose 1 rolled die from that attack and deal that much damage to each enemy card adjacent to the target. Combine this with Zack's Power Axe, you can potentially be doing up to 6 damage, if you're lucky enough, because it depends on what you roll. Let's say you're attacking an enemy with the guard keyword that's guarding 3 other cards. You attack with your Power Axe, if you get lucky enough to roll 6 hits, all 3 critical hits. Choose 2 of those dice for the Power Axe, choose 1 for the Black Shogun Zord. You're dealing 6 damage to each enemy card that's adjacent to the initial target. Again, you're definitely taking out any foot soldier with 6 damage. I don't even think the elite foot soldiers have more than 5. But yeah, you're even taking out most enemy and boss cards too with 6 damage. Now, I'm not sure if, let's say you use Zack's Power Axe, rolled 3 dice, only rolled 2 critical hits and 1 regular hit. You choose the 2 critical hits. If you could then use the Shogun Zord to use one of those same critical hit die that you already chose for the Power Axe. I'm not sure if you can do that to deal 6 damage regardless, or if it has to be a separate die from one of the 2 you've already chosen. I think you could use it for the same die for both effects, the Power Axe and the Shogun Zord, but I can see an argument being made that no, it has to be a separate die. So yeah, Black Shogun Zord is, when paired with Power Axe, is deadly just about every enemy the Rangers go up against. But yeah, that's pretty much Zack in a nutshell. Oh wait, you know what? I forgot to cover Zack's Once and Always ability. The character card that was released for Once and Always, it's for Zack, it's the time for my Slamma Jamma, double whamma, hip hop it because you can't stop it, big disgrace because it's in your face, long shot. Something that he said in the first season, for those of you who haven't seen it. Its ability is, once per battle, you may say the name of this ability, then toss a token onto the table from at least 3 feet away. If it lands in an outer location, deal 2 damage to an enemy card of your choice. If it lands in the command center, deal 3 damage instead. This ability is really great because it can bypass the guard keyword because it's not an attack card, it doesn't choose a target, it just deals damage to an enemy card of your choice. 2 or 3 damage is great. 3 would be ideal, but if you only deal 2 damage, hey, I'm not going to complain. So yeah, that is Zack's Once and Always ability, and that's Zack in general. Next video, I think I'll just do Kimberly. I mean, not that I don't like Kimberly. I really like Kimberly. She's an awesome ranger, but I figure since I may as well do boy girl, and then finally save Jason, Red Ranger for last. I probably won't do that for every team, but since I started with Billy, I was either going to start, when I originally did these, I wasn't sure whether I was going to start with Jason or Billy. But I decided to start with my favorite first, so I went with Billy. Next will be Kimberly, and then the video after that will be Jason. So thanks for watching, and head on over to oncearanger.com to check out the card database for Heroes of the Grid, and let me know if I've missed anything, and thank you for watching.